It's Tarkin coming at you with another game of Minecraft. Really, it's just wheat. Let's go plant some. Of course, the only way to fly across a wheat field is very carefully. You don't want to run through it. What if you step on some wheat? So we're just going to go over here to where the wheat field is currently in expansion. And plant some more of it. One can never have enough. No matter what you see in the distance. All that yellow in the distance, that's wheat, by the way, if you didn't know. We'll go over all of it at the end. It's, it's a lot more than it looks like. But I stole a little time out of the middle of my day. And figured it would be nice to plant a little bit of wheat. Hello, Thomas. Indeed, wheat. Good afternoon, Coolio. Some of the wheat has gluten, but only once it's developed, you know. Like, right now, it is just seeds. Definitely, like, I like streaming all sorts of different games and ways of playing them, but the most fun I have streaming is on these whenever somebody like sees me planting some wheat and they're like, wow, that's a lot, and then I get to zoom out and show them everything, and I'm like, oh, by the way, that yellow in the distance, that's all wheat. Everything is wheat. It's all wheat. All wheat, everything. No, that's not what I meant to do. That is not it at all. If only we could plant this much wheat in real life. Actually, you can... It's not really that much wheat at all compared to real life. Because if each thing is like a meter, right? Each block's a meter. So I would have planted, you know, 300,000 square meters. 300 square kilometers. It doesn't seem like that much wheat. Yeah, we definitely do. Not me. It's just, you know, you wouldn't do it by hand anymore, and you would definitely level the land a little bit. But, you know, I'm doing my part to plant a little more wheat. Because even if I can never do as good as a machine can, you know, the legend of John Henry is not that he was stronger than a machine. It's that he was willing to try to be. And I think we could all learn a lot from that. I know I sure could. So you see more wheat than this in your locality. Yeah, where I live, we don't plant wheat. It is rice and soybeans. Not we, the broad sense. My family are not farmers per se. We had like a garden growing up, and my parents still have one. We grew a lot of our own food, but you know, we didn't have like a rice field. But we would drive by them, and the rice fields, you know, politely grew mosquitoes that sucked our blood. You know, so the circle of life. Nothing like a bunch of rice and soybeans fields that are 10 miles from a bayou to give you the biggest mosquitoes you can find outside of a tropical zone. To be young again. No, I still live sort of close from where I grew up, just like away from the bayou, so the bugs are like normal sized here. This song is just the best song. It's right where you are too. Ah, yeah. Because I'm from Arkansas, and we, the Arkansans, grow just like a shocking amount of soybeans and rice. Just like a whole lot of what's like done in the whole country is done here. But anybody that's driven down some back highway can believe it, because you just go a little bit outside of some podunk town and it's usually field after field after field, basically no matter where you are as you go through huge swaths of the state. But it's a big country. It's interesting how different some places are, just visually, not even just like culturally, just like the way that development and parts of like the East Coast has been like happening for so long. Like I just remember like when I took a Greyhound up to New York once upon a time, and just like when we finally left the South, and I'm like, wait, where's all the trees and stuff? And I mean, I'm sure they got forests, but it just felt like you could go in like a continuous line and see nothing but like development, which to a country boy like me was pretty shocking. Well, long before I got to New York, I was like, man, it's all concrete and steel here, huh? But you don't have to go too far away from where the people are to find things that are alive that aren't people. Sometimes you can just go underneath the city. That is where, like, turtles that study ninjutsu are, and very eloquent rats, they also live there. If you're ever thinking, like, man, all the rats I know don't talk so well, you probably are not going to the right sewers. That's the thing. There's wide variability in the eloquence of rats. That's going to be the name of my next punk record. It's a good name. Now you might be thinking, you're not even a musician. No, I'm not, but I can still name a record without knowing how to play. In my inventory? A bunch? Yeah, because we stocked up before we started here, so we would have had a full inventory of seeds. But that reminds us, let's check out the stats. This is always fun. We have planted 313,799 wheat seeds now. Went to New York City once upon a time. Yeah, and then I lived in New York State for a bit. That would have been if you go back and watch my very first YouTube videos. First of all, don't. What would be the point? It's me playing Mount & Blade Warband. I I don't even know what was going on in my life then. I don't go back and watch it. It's hard to look at me. But yeah, that was when I was living in New York, was when I started the channel 11 years ago. But I was living in, like, upstate New York then. Once upon a time. You saw Hamilton in New York? Well, color me incredibly jealous. I saw Hamilton when it came here to Arkansas, but, you know, it's a different experience you get. But, yeah, because in the only real city in Arkansas, Little Rock, the capital, they get traveling theater productions of, like, you know, the big plays will come, and, you know, we'll get a handful of good traveling reviews of them every year. So I usually go to one or two, or once I got season tickets. So like this last year, I went to Hadestown, and that was wonderful. And like a few years ago, I saw Wicked, and I saw like Mean Girls and Legally Blonde, and those were both awesome. And I saw Hamilton when it came. I couldn't when I got my tickets, I couldn't get two tickets next to each other anywhere there, so I just went by myself, which, you know, is fine. Oh yeah, I saw 6. this last, or like a year and a half ago. That was awesome. But yes, Alexander Hamilton. I actually, so I'm, seems weird. It's like, I actually really like Alexander Hamilton. I didn't know the guy, but he was one of the figures in American history that I always found very interesting. Like, whenever I was a kid growing up, and I had read, the Federalist Papers and all the stuff. And I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a little kid, which sometimes comes up, just to give you an idea of what a strange child I might have been. No, whenever I was in New York City for the first time, I actually made a point to visit his grave at Trinity Church. This would have been before the musical came out, so it wasn't at all fashionable to be into Hamilton. But the person that I was staying with, I was like, "Nope, we have to go." And they were like, "What?" I'm like, "No, I just want to go and see his grave marker and pay my respects." So yeah. I liked Hamilton before it was cool. Ultimate hipster mode unlocked. Oh, see Hamilton. Hamilton is a play that was a smash hit on Broadway, a musical theater production that was very, very successful and won. Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's the name of a play that won all of the Tonys, which is like the American Theater Award. It would have come out, maybe like 10 years ago now, 12, something like that. But that's what we mean. The guy who did the play, Lin-Manuel Miranda, has like a huge heyday in American culture now. So like if you've heard of the Disney film Moana, he wrote the music to that. And Encanto, if you've heard of that one, he wrote the music to that. And but yeah, it's like an American history play that reimagines a lot of it with the lens of hip hop and rap. Like, anyway, it was a big deal in American culture, and it was very, very difficult to get tickets to it in New York for a super long time. It's probably still not a cinch. But yeah, that's what seeing Hamilton was. And meeting Hamilton, I was talking about going to his grave, but seeing Hamilton, we meant going to the play. But yes, he was a founding father, and in a burst of pure poetry, died in a duel with pistols against an old political foe on the same spot that his own son had previously died in a duel. Like I said, it's pure poetry. And I had always been fascinated by it because it's just it seems like a story that somebody would have made up. And I remember just being captivated by his life story and stuff whenever I was a boy, and reading through my little American history textbooks and be like, wow, this is more interesting than all the other ones. But oh yeah, no, deeply fascinating, front to back. Imagine Vandenberg plays fair. It's a bit unfair to the man, because, the play doesn't treat him as nicely as American history might have done. The play needed an antagonist. But to my point of view, Burr wasn't that bad of a dude. And dueling is very stupid. Hey, KO Clips. Yes, I am indeed the wheat planter. Is this your first time seeing the field? Do you want to see how much we have? I don't want to brag, but that's all wheat. And then if you go like a little bit further, you'll see in the distance here. I'll stretch out my hand as if to the camera. That'll hopefully see that that I mean that distance, the one to the opposite of my hand. That's all wheat too. We're not going to go over the whole thing. I don't want to brag. It doesn't go on forever. It just goes on. But anyway. That is, there's more wheat that way. I didn't want you to think that it was just wheat here. There's also just wheat over there, too. How long have I been planting wheat? Oh, just a little bit more than a year. The very first video about the wheat field was called Farm of Reasonable Size. I know the name of it because it's awesome. But that would have come out in early August last year. I've only been playing Minecraft since like June of last year. So the wheat field would be, you know, maybe 13 and a half, 14 months old, because I didn't start planting it. This Minecraft world would have been born in like June, right in the like June 20th, 21st, something like that. But yeah, you know, I don't plant it every day, but we checked it earlier. It is 314,000. Yeah, we've planted 314,000 wheat seeds. Of course, that's total. We've also had to replant some of them. So really, the wheat field is more like 250,000 wheats, most likely. I don't have a firm number. The field size no longer feels reasonable. No, back when I started, it was just a lot of wheat. It was merely a lot of wheat, and you know, I think that concealed the madness burgeoning within, where now everything is only wheat, just wheat. But no, like, when we started the new field, that's the one on the other side of the river that stretches out towards the mountain where the Temple of Wheat will one day be built. The new field, you know. We have to have names to delineate it. This over here, we don't actually have a name for this yet. This is the new field. The newest field, which isn't a very good name. I guess we could start calling the new field the old field. Sort of like when you get the new bridge and then eventually it becomes the old bridge. But yeah, it was just a little bit of wheat. It couldn't have been more than a couple thousand wheats. I didn't know anything back then, you know. I didn't know anything about wheat. When I started, I actually didn't know anything about wheat. I did not know, like, that I needed bread for the villagers. I was just growing it. And then one thing led to another, and now I've got, you know, plenty. And if anybody ever shows up in this world, they won't. I've never let anybody in. Then they would have, you know, they'd have plenty of bread. Agrosmegalos. The biggest agriculture. You know, if you really want a tragic thing, it's that if each one of these wheat blocks represented $1,000, he has way more money than that. If each one of these wheat blocks represented $1 million, that is how trivial money is. To people that aren't me. To some people that aren't me. But, you know, it's, that's the thing about wheat, is you can't rely on the wind to plant it for you. You've got to do it yourself. You gotta till the land. You don't have to irrigate it. It doesn't need water. You know, maybe it would like it. It's not important. Yes, it is a truly staggering amount of money. There's a very old joke where, you know, it goes like, what's the difference between $1 million and $1 billion? And the answer is about $1 billion. Oh yes, I tend to get pretty philosophical about wheat. I mean, and everything else. And of course, before we go, we will have a short reading from the works of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. You know, we don't have one every stream, but I got one picked out that I would like to share for this one. Yeah, wealth is fascinating that way. There's a very famous anecdote in world history. The Sultan Mansa Musa, who allegedly went on Hajj, on a pilgrimage to Mecca, and he was so rich that, like, along the way, according to legend, he, like, devalued the currency and destabilized all of, like, these places due to, like, how much gold he injected into the local population, just, like, with his retinue and such. Now, I do not know if it is true because it is a very appealing story and I've heard it a lot. My background in history says maybe it's not 100% true, but that is the story. If you've played Civilization, Mansa Musa is the leader there that you would be familiar with, who's got the big old happy belly and who's very magnanimous. Am I going to attempt Club Step tomorrow for Geometry Sundash? Yes, that is the plan. We're gonna be doing some Club Step attempts, doing some requests here and there probably, because people like doing requests and I quite like taking them. I mean, sometimes. Sometimes people just want me to play a level that's way too hard, but sometimes they give me a level that's just fascinating. And even if I give up on it after 5 minutes, it's really cool what people create. But yeah, I'm planning on starting that at about 5 or 5:30. I don't want to set a firm time because sometimes I have to, like, I don't always get off of work exactly when the thing on the wall with my name by it says I'm going to get off work. That's just what being a cook is. So, I never, like, thinking, okay, I'll do this at 5 o'clock because then I will have been home for X amount of time or whatever, because sometimes, sometimes you do what you got to do to make sure the food gets out. The show must go on and all that. Which, I have to get back to that, but not right now. I have a little bit longer to plant wheat. I got a slightly longer break than expected today, so I jetted home. Not really. I took a car. My jetpack's in the shop, and I figured, why don't I plant a little bit of wheat in between the fire and the noise of work? Let's get back to what really matters, my Minecraft wheat field. I really like it here. It's a good field. There might be a lot of wheat fields just like it out here in the world. It's a big world with plenty of people that play Minecraft in it, but this is my wheat field, and I think it's pretty special. Sometimes people will come in and say, you must have the biggest wheat field in the world, and there's no way that's true. There's no way that someone out there has not just totally dwarfed this. But after like 3,000 or 4,000 more years of planting wheat, then I'll try to see what the biggest Minecraft wheat field is. But by then, I might be totally outclassed. I guess I'll just have to be happy with what I have. That is, after all, the goal. Hey Stacy, how's it going? Typical gamer during the Stone Age. Going around and bashing the ground with your diamonds, indeed. See how they glitter. And clearing the land for wheat seeds, it's like, not every one of them gives you seeds anyway. And fortune helps a little bit with the amount. But it's, even with savanna grass density being very high, you gotta have your wheat field. Of course, not this wheat field. This one's just for growing. This one's just aesthetics. But, in the real wheat field, as longtime viewers know, there's good places to get more wheat seeds. But we don't have to do that right now, because we still have many hundreds left. We'll probably clear some. Tools are fine. We don't need to go to the field of 1,000 cows or anything. One time, as I was going to the field of 1,000 cows to mend the tools, someone was like, oh, yeah, that's a lot of wheat. So you're like vegetarian? I'm like, oh, please look away from these poor cows. And then I pulled out a stick attached to a bunch of diamonds arrayed in a sharp sword-like shape. And then, well, you know the rest. All of my tools got mended. And then I appeared with a bunch of meat and leather and put them into nearby boxes and said, we'll do something with this someday. No more iconic pairing than me and putting stuff in a box in a video game and then walking away. Thomas. Chop with an X and wheat with a check mark. Unfortunately, I still have to go to work. It's a shame is what it is. But I promised him I'd be there, and I promised the landlord I'd pay rent. There's a lot of promises you make in life, you know. And the one about keeping your air conditioning on is the most important one to me. The meat is preserved. It's like a dry aging process, right? I assume that when we're away, some of the remaining cows like put a nice seasoning rub on it. You know, they brine it up a little bit, and then they've got it all hanging around. You know, some of it they're gonna make into fine smoked and you know dried preserved meats. They've got like a whole underground cavern for it, I assume. If not, well, you know who's gonna be the next one to mend a tool. No, that's too dark. I should say that nothing will save those cows from being slain in order to mend our tools. There's no way for them to be a good enough cow to make me care about them. Maybe one day in Minecraft I'll meet like a really good cow. It just hasn't happened yet. Like, we met a pig at like the roof of the world in one of the hardcore worlds. That was good. That was like, what an excellent pig, you know? And of course there's Garuda, who appears to be a chicken but isn't, and he's just very excellent. But no cows of a similar quality have emerged. There's Cave Pony in the hardcore world right now. I mean, Cave Pony's very excellent. What if cows also plant wheat? Oh, I would love to see it, but they won't. They just step on it. Not as much as like llamas or wandering traders do. Every now and then a wandering trader appears in this wheat field, and then nobody knows what happened to him. I just realized we planted this wheat without touching any of the other wheat. That's thematically incoherent. Because it's supposed to be, like, growing, you know? Like the corruption of the world by way of the wheat. Just wheat. Well, you know, we're gonna have to leave it over there for a bit. We'll get back to it. Hopefully, no one will ever know. There's not, like, any documentary evidence that this has ever occurred. There aren't any witnesses. So we're just gonna go back over here and keep on planting some wheat. And I'm sure no one will ever suspect a thing. They won't, like, be able to say, hey, your whole wheat field is illegitimate. I saw what you did. You could just plant it anywhere. It wasn't even touching the wheat. Shudder to think. Excuse me, cow? The invincible cow! No, it's just because that particular tool doesn't have a very high damage stat. I think it is a damage stat of 1. Yes. Oh, we could have used the shovel or the pickaxe. They both have higher damage. Note to self. Texan cats. Oh, this whole section is like that too? Yeah. Oh, no, that doesn't count, because this is where the... What's going on? Okay. This is that spur of it, and we just looped all the way around. Okay. We should just get the section in the middle here. It's very bad form to have an unwheated oasis in the middle. It sets a bad example to all the other wheat. They're like, wait... Is there a meaning beyond wheat? No, there isn't. You know, there isn't. But if any of the grass is around, it could corrupt the wheat into wanting to be grass-like again, which is the last thing we want. Only wheat. Always wheat. Not bad for a day's work. Planting a little inventory full of wheat, sweeping across the land. Beautiful. Because, of course, I mean, we got all this to plant, and then, I mean, look at that over there. That could be wheat, too. But first, or rather last, let us survey the wheat field in its considerable glory. Before we end for the day, the wheat spreads, the wheat abides, you know, it permeates. We got this little canal thing, and yeah, we almost fixed the water level entirely. Yeah, it's so close to being done. Awesome. Yep. Set it up so well, you know, the kelp, you just got to have good kelp coverage, and then the water mechanics will take care of the rest. But of course, here's the side of the mountain of wheat. This is like the proudest of my accomplishments. Unless you've tried to plant wheat like that, you don't know what it's like. You just can't appreciate that there's a lot of heartache involved with getting your wheat on the side of a mountain like that. And of course, this is the wheat field that it used to be, right here. Just what's in frame, basically. That was it. And I was like, you guys see my wheat field? Look at all my wheat. And it was just this. But now, of course, we have the new field. And it was sometime when I was like right here where I was like, okay, maybe I should stop saying that it's an average amount of wheat. So now I tell people that I have a lot of wheat. Of course, it's not much. It's already done. You know, it's already over. Like, why am I talking like it's a lot of wheat? I mean, it is, though. It's some wheat. And we planted some over there, you know, we got to get that over there, because we built that little river to get through. We probably got to work on that water as well, but, you know, it's all coming in beautifully. Here, my tacky cherry tree obsession manifests itself once more. I just really like cherry trees. Basically, everywhere you see them here, I put them. Yeah, none of these are native. I would have gotten them on my way out of the nether once upon a time. It would have been like my first or second nether exit. This is before I streamed. This was like on my peaceful world. And like I got in the nether and I finally like made another portal and got out, and I was so far away. I was on bedrock, so I didn't know where I was at or really how to get home. I was just following the compass until I got here. And that's when I found my first cherry tree biome. And I got a couple of saplings for samples, and I ran them home, and every single one of these cherry trees is the spawn of those original ones that I found just, like, desperately trying to return home, and I didn't even know they were in the game, and then that's when we found them. But, you know, we come to the end of the video. Unfortunately, work calls me once more, but as I sometimes do, I wanted to share with you a little thought from literature and history. This is the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, my favorite emperor of Rome. This is book 5, number 23, and it goes like this. Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come. Existence flows past us like a river. The what is in constant flux. The why has 1,000 variations. Nothing is stable, not even what's right here. The infinity of past and future gapes before us, a chasm whose depths we cannot see. So it would take an idiot to feel self-importance or distress, or any indignation either, as if the things that irritate us lasted. And I really like that one. As with many of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the wisdom can be accepted long before it can be implemented due to attachments. But I really like that idea. I just wanted to share it with all of you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm so glad that I got to steal a little hour out of the middle of my day and share my wheat field with all of you and get to talk about the Emperor of Rome and listen to some nice Minecraft music, do all of the little things that make things feel a little bit better. So that's all I've got for you right now. I'm gonna go and start cooking here in a bit, and I'll be back in sometime. I'll be back tonight, and perhaps I'll see y'all there. I don't know what I'm gonna play. It'll be something that I've played before. So we'll see. I might try to give Hollow Knight one more try. My buddy at work was telling me about this charm that might make it so I can get through the White Palace without hating everything. Yeah, the army of golems, look, they mess up the wheat, but they're very good golems. And they were very important, you know, to protect the village from the ancient raid. You know, they have historical reasons for being here. There are a lot of them, though, it's true. Exactly, Coolio Gaming. What is Hive Blood? He said there's some Hive thing, and I remember I got, like, in the one part, he says there's some other way to get in and get it. So we're gonna try that, and then hopefully that'll be there. Because as irritated as I was with that whole experience, I wanted to get through it so I could play the rest of the game that there was. I didn't want to give up. Yeah, so you get hurt and then you just wait, and then you get the life back after waiting just a bit. And having to wait a bit will just give me time to complain, and that's fine too. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Coolio. Stacy, KO Clips. Appreciate all of you. And if you're watching in the future, I hope the weather is nice. Disregard all the time-sensitive information. And perhaps I'll see you later on today, or in some other future streamer video. And if not, hey, it's a big wide world. And what's important is that you plant enough wheat. See you guys.